gracious. Good God Almighty. Welcome to Unleashed on Wednesdays at 10. I'm so glad so many of you guys are here. You know, this whole like 3 shows a week thing. At first, we were like, who wants to watch 3 shows a week? But you know what? You guys are showing up every time, and it's really inspiring, and we appreciate it. We appreciate you guys so much. Shane, how you doing today, brother?
Good, brother. Good. It's as Archmage Frey says here, it's hump day.
Hump day.
Yep, it is Wednesday, and we have some really awesome stuff to talk about today. I was shocked at all of the information that just kept coming out yesterday, like over and over. You know, like usually we're like, what are we going to talk about tomorrow? What's kind of the thing? And we had this whole thing. An article came out recently that shed some light on the movie industry and exactly why. I mean, it kind of like gives more insight. We know why movies suck because, you know, people are writing bad things and, you know, the choices are really poor in Hollywood right now. But there's like something very specific that started way back in the early 2000s that have led us also to your movies sucking. And we kind of learned why. We want to share that with you. Brian's got a really great take on that have led us also to your movies sucking and them going after Microsoft that we're going to talk about. Adrian Palicki did a little interview talking about the Orville. And so we have an update on the Orville for you and where we think that's going to be. We're going to be talking kid blackface today. That'll be fun. and it's proof that you can trust nothing on the internet.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to that yellow check mark on this video.
Yeah, and listen, if the yellow check mark it, they're wrong. So, and we'll explain why. Oh, well, we're also going to be talking about something called Lady Ballers, which we just found out about it, which is going to be really cool. And of course, our news of the weird. Weekly weird. Yeah, which we
you know what it is. Come on.
Yeah.
Let's not play. You know what it is.
No, I actually messed that one up on accident.
Right. Oh, I see. This time it was on accident. Okay.
Usually it's on purpose, but yeah, we got it. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm excited about today's topics, and starting off the topics, I guess we can just go right to the meat and potatoes here. But
we'll do the
real quick before we do. We did have No Money G gifting a Popcast membership. Thank you, No Money G. You're the man.
Yeah, right at the top of the hour. And I think it was strategic. I think they were all trying to get Penny her membership. And that's kind of so she can watch the member show. And we love that Penny's there. So thank you, No Money G, for being a chivalrous dude. Very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Welcome, Penny. And Penny's great. So we're going to talk about this Disney AI thing and why it's extraordinarily hypocritical. Before I do, I wanted to show you guys an AI poster that I designed using our AI, Shane, SHAIN3.
Oh, all right.
Because our AI is not limited the same way DALL-E and Microsoft are. So I basically took the same exact prompts people are using for the.
Are you doing the Disney AI thing now?
Oh, am I doing it wrong? I'm doing it backwards.
So it's next. Yeah. So the top of the one is our thumbnail.
I'm so sorry. I apologize. I'm sorry.
No, totally good. No, it's because it's going to be cool what you're going to talk about, but we want to deliver on what we promised people at the beginning.
You're right. I messed it up because I saw that in the article there. Okay. No, I'm sorry. We're going to start off with this story. Ready? This is why our movies, suck.
Yes.
Suck massive, giant donkey balls.
Did you see that there was a thing on Twitter that said Disney was going to lose $750 million this year? And my first thought was, that's it? Like, I think it's going to be closer to between 1 and 2 billion at the theaters. So
yeah, I hope it is. I hope they lose so much money. That's the activist in me. The person who's invested in them is really effing mad right now and really hopes that they get their crap together. But I don't know what to say about this. Disney is this weird enigma. I'm under the impression like if you can't beat them, join them. So we invested, and now it's
well, we invested before they went woke. Let's be honest.
That's true. But as usual, everything we touch starts to like fail. So it just boom, they just went crazy woke and lost the mark, lost the message, and now they're screwing all their investors. But additionally, on top of it, I'm mad at myself because I already knew that it was a garbage studio, and I was like, you know what? They're too big to fail. Yet they have been consistently failing for 2 years now.
I think they're still too big to fail, honestly. But, you know, I think they've gotten taken to the woodshed. And what's cool is if you look at like their recent, if you look outside of like the entertainment speak and you like look more into the investing side, you can see like the discussions that they're having on like their quarterly meetings about their finances talk a lot about how they're like losing the thread. They've upset the consumer. Like there are talks. They are aware that they've screwed up.
Really?
Yeah, it is coming around full. And I think the fact that we've spoken with our wallets is the biggest thing that we could have done. Is just said, look, we're not gonna give you any money for this stuff because it's garbage. Now, but why is it garbage? Now we said we know because Disney decided they were gonna take the family out of their family movies, that they were going to, focus on this kind of younger generation and like what they thought the social spectrum was going.
Great idea, by the way. Like, hey, we've been very successful for 70 years making family films. Let's stop doing that.
Listen, Coke. I mean, even Coca-Cola did it. Okay, they did have new Coke, but what happened?
It's true.
Nobody bought it. They learned, so they stopped making new Coke.
And they've made since then the greatest product known to man, Coke Zero. I'm sorry, it's
Pepsi Zero is way better.
Whatever. I mean, if you're a Pepsi person, maybe it is, but Coke did it first, and it's so successful. It's now competing. They're now competing with their own market share. Coke Classic, Coke Zero is now neck and neck with Coke Classic, which I find it's the most successful product since Coke Classic.
Well, we'll find out probably in 5 years that we're all going to die from it. So we'll,
How do you make a 0 calorie, 0 sugar? Like literally no effect on your body. It tastes exactly the same. Of course, that has to be unhealthy. But we don't know yet.
We don't know.
Until that, ignorance is bliss, baby.
Oh, so with that, let's talk about this really interesting thing that happened that showed us like another reason why. And it might have been part of this slippery slope as to why we ended up where we ended up with the bad writing and stuff like that. So Fortune came out with an article, and it was really examining the Marvels. Initially, it was the Marvels box office flop marks the end of an era for the studio's winning formula and the beginning of a new one for Hollywood's workers. And I wanted to look at it because I wanted to see, okay, well, what do they think is actually going on here? And what ended up happening was, it took us back in time, and it actually took us to a place where it went all the way back to Iron Man. And I was like, okay, this is very interesting. So back in 2007, it talks about here, the studio was scrambling to finish its first movie, Iron Man, before the WGA prohibited its members from contributing any further work. So the last time that they went on strike, Iron Man was just finishing up, and they were in a hurry. The movie had been shot and edited and was coming together in post-production, except that final battle between Tony Stark and his rival Obadiah Stane. There was a boring slugfest between the two men in metal suits, lacking the character and the wit that that animated the rest of the movie, right? Just before the WGA told its members pencils down, screenwriters Art Markham and Matt Holloway concocted a new scene where Stark would realize that Stane's suit would ice up at high altitude, letting him win victory with brains rather than brawn. Because it was too late for significant reshoots, and because actor Jeff Bridges wasn't available, they wrote it to make use of as much pre-existing footage as possible, heavily supplemented with CGI. Right?
Oh, wow.
Okay, when director Jon Favreau and producer Kevin Feige implemented that last-minute solution, they unwittingly established 3 core principles of Marvel Studios. 1, long-planned ideas could be ruthlessly scrapped at any point if a better option presented itself. That makes sense. 2, special effects worked best when they were reflections of character, not just expensive light shows. And 3, this is the important one, up against a deadline, CGI was the best solution for almost any problem. The third one, is why our movies, in part, have gone down. And
it was fascinating. That ending is it makes the movie.
Right, it does. It really makes the movie. And so what it did was, because there was so much success in it, they realized, oh my God, we've got this cheat code. We don't need the actors. We don't need to rewrite anything. We can just go in and make the changes with VFX, right? So, as it talks about here, over the years, having the freedom to change anything at the last minute devolved into storytelling that felt mushy because the writers needed to keep their options open in case the studio asked for a sudden revision to the ending. So what happened was, because of this ability, the studios were like, yes, we can save money. Okay. I know you wrote a script. I know you've got this whole thing that you want to do, but we might need to make adjustments. So endings became, as they say here, mushy. The stories, instead of being written by somebody who was passionate about a project and like, I want to do this movie because I'm passionate and I love it.
Right.
I'm going to write the script. And then as a director who's like, I got a vision and I want it to be my way. It started to become more like, well, let's write it so that the studio can make the changes that they're obviously going to make at some point.
Right.
Going back to you can go back to, the Justice League movie. And listen, when studios make decisions, 99% of the time, it's a bad choice.
Yeah, you're totally right. I mean, like, look at the dichotomy between the theatrical version of Justice League and the Zack Snyder cut. Like, one is a masterpiece and one is a mess. And that's coming from a massive DC simp.
And that's such a great example because, you've got the studio fingers all over it on one, and then you've got just let the creative go.
Right.
And it's like, most of the time, if the creative has a good vision and the studio stays out of the way, but of course the studio is trying to save as much money as possible. Now, we can all agree that most of the MCU initial phase movies all the way through Endgame was great. Like, good movies. We enjoyed almost all of them. They did a really good job, but it set up this thing. So what happened when Feige stops, having so much direct involvement, so much care? When Endgame was done, there was this feeling with Feige that, I kind of did it, and so maybe he backed off of the gas a little bit, right? And so, but they continued to maintain the same story writing, the same style, the same way that they concocted their stuff, without Feige really being the guy who held it all in his hands and made sure it was good.
Right.
And what do you end up with? You end up with shit. And you end up with woke stuff.
Right.
And you end up with messaging.
Right.
And now you've got studios trying to figure out, what are we trying to do here? Well, how do we make the most money? Oh, I know. We have, action, drama, kissing, LGBTQ. We have everything in it so that everybody will come watch the movie. And that ended up making it shit.
Right. So, it waters it down big time. What's interesting, I saw here too, when I read the article too, it's the first time I've actually done homework when Shane sent me something. I'll just let you know that. But it says, the strikes this year in tandem with the end of the streaming wars gave Marvel Studios a much needed pause and a chance to sort through the glut of TV shows it had developed for Disney+. Studio head Feige had made some painful decisions halfway through the shoot of the 18-episode TV series Daredevil Born Again. He decided that the show wasn't working, dismissed the head writers, and went back to the drawing board. That's another thing. That is becoming a trend now where they can scrap something that is so far into development because something better comes along. And I think that takes a lot of the soul out of it because there's a lot of now look, some of that stuff is crappy, but there's creatives that there's massive fans of Daredevil. And the fact that there's creatives that were working on this for so long only for it to be scrapped because something better came, and it says went back to the drawing board. No, something better came along. Something that Kevin Feige thought was better came along. And so we're never going to see that. Now, I'm not even a huge Daredevil fan, but we're never going to see that. And a lot of people really like the Daredevil series. In fact, I was in the theater in No Way Home when the Daredevil character from the TV show made an appearance as Peter Parker's lawyer. And when he caught that brick, the theater went nuts. In my mind, I was like, oh, that's the next big character is Daredevil. Like they huge accolades on Netflix from fans. And I'm telling you, the entire theater lost their minds when he caught the brick in that scene. So the fact that they're just scrapping that character that is that popular, that's only a few people, aka the studio and maybe Feige, are like just deciding that.
Yeah, that's true. Well, there is some good news. There's a silver lining to all this because what's happening is, if you noticed, all the VFX workers, the VFX stuff is becoming very expensive. The workers are tired. The product that's coming out in the movies is kind of crap, right? Some of it's like not finished, right? So it's becoming more expensive for studios like Marvel to do that last minute digital patch that everybody was inspired to and excited to do back on Iron Man because it was like a new exciting thing.
Right.
Now everybody's tired. They don't want to do it. We went through COVID where now nobody wants to work.
Right.
They got this whole thing. So it's becoming more expensive. So it is possible that the reverse may occur where it's like, this VFX stuff is too expensive. We need to go back to less improvisational storylines and go back to the way we used to do it because it's actually cheaper now.
Yeah, the whole point of writing your script ahead of time, setting your storyboards, getting your props, like there's a whole process in play to make sure you get the best possible product that you are trying to sell. When VFX can sort of, band-aid everything together when you change your mind, it takes that process that has worked for 100 years and completely removes it. I like the idea of technology that makes things better, faster, cheaper, but I also like now, because of how crappy it's made a lot of these things, taking the soul out of the storytelling.
Yeah,
the fact that it's getting so expensive and there's a lot less billion-dollar movies out there. Less people are watching movies, which means they're gonna have to tighten up their budget. And if you look at here in September, the VFX artists at Marvel voted to unionize. Once they unionize, that's
it, man.
That's it. It's over.
That's it. Yeah, it's going to be by the clock. And I'm not saying that unions don't have their place, because when businesses get out of control, and they're not taking care of their workers, unions are good. There was a time back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, where people were being killed in the workplace because they were being worked to death. So unions help support that. I mean, typically you'd like it not to be unionized because then it handcuffs the company. But, some of these companies are getting out of control, as Brian's about to go to after we do a super chat with Disney AI. I think that's a good transition. Companies maybe need a little bit of a slapping on the wrist with some of the shit that's going on right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they need a little bit of slapping. Yeah, but they're probably not going to get it, though. Let's be real. All right. Well, we did get a super chat from Rec Thoughts. Ask Rome how about Too Big to Fail. That's a great point, Rec. And in fact, ask every empire that extended their reach, started to become extremely woke, let down their defenses, drop their borders, and what happens? In history, every single one of them has failed. Now, on that note, though, thank you for the super chat. And if you notice, our health bar at the top left has lost a few green little bars there, because whoever gets to the end and knocks the Popcast Unleash out becomes the stream hero. And when you're the stream hero the longest, you get a mystery prize.
Yes, at the end of the show, we will have a mystery prize.
And next week, hopefully this Monday, there'll actually be a little countdown next to there that shows how long.
Oh, you working on it?
I'm almost positive that I have figured it out.
Okay.
It's difficult, but basically I made a web page that I host locally.
Okay.
And when the super chat comes in, it triggers the timer to start.
Okay, so the goal for us is to have it so you can see who's been up there the longest.
Right.
So we will get to that point, hopefully.
Yeah, my only problem is I'm trying right now. I'm trying to get to figure out, because it's triggering on every super chat. I want it to trigger only on when it goes over. When it goes over the mark, and I haven't figured that out yet.
Very true.
But I will. Thank you, Rick.
Thanks for the comment, Rick. Disney, I think, at this point in time is probably not going to fail, because they do have a lot of money. They got their theme parks. People aren't going to stop going to them. People aren't going to stop going on cruises. Not yet. They have time to correct the ship. Let's hope common sense, involves itself, at least for everybody who's invested in the company and remembers childhood. There was, just real quick, the comment somebody said on Twitter, and I thought it was a really great comment. Maybe the people who are talking so much crap about Disney actually love Disney the most. And I think there's a lot to be said about that. I have very fond memories of going to Disneyland as a child, and I love Disney growing up. And so, I want to continue to love Disney again. So I do hope that they change. I don't want to see it burnt down. I want to see it fixed, me personally.
The only reason I want to see it fixed is because I have a hefty investment in it.
All right, there it is.
I mean, I'll be real honest with you. If I wasn't invested in this, I'd be rooting for it to burn. I'm so over Disney, and I'm gonna explain why right now. Okay, let's talk about this. All right, so recently we had in the news what people thought was very minor news. In fact, when I posted it on Twitter, I was admonished by people like, what are you worried about? They're protecting the trademark. And I'll explain why. Basically, what happens is people were creating Pixar AI style movie posters that were, clearly ridiculous parodies, but it followed the basic guidelines of the Disney Pixar animated movies. And it became a trend that blew up overnight. And people were using AI, different AI, mostly Microsoft, being DALL-E, to create all these really cool, sort of outlandish, insane posters. For instance, this one's crazy. This one's called Twin, and it's the Twin Towers. This one says Klux. It's clearly Ku Klux Klan. Finding Osama. I mean, they're funny, right? And they're inappropriate, but that's the internet. What happened was Disney had a little talk with Microsoft, and they said, you know what? You're going to have to ban the use of the word Disney. You're gonna have to. You gotta nip this in the bud. And Disney.
Can you go closer on those posters really quick?
I'm gonna pull them up. I'm actually uploading them, so they're gonna be bigger.
Because I want to see. I would like to see what if they're wrong here. So it's okay. I see. So it does say Disney Pixar on the poster.
Yes, it does, and I'll show you that in a minute. So what they basically did, they went to Microsoft and they said, you stop using this. Basically, stop using our ban this word. So Microsoft immediately did. Of course, they immediately turned off the ability for you to use Disney as a prompt, and a prompt is basically a word, right? It's interesting that when they did that, immediately all their stuff got jumbled, and it wasn't just Disney that was the word Disney that was affected. Even in the style of Pixar or animated, everything got jumbled. It became very difficult to create these, ridiculous posters. On that note, I'm gonna show you some of the examples. Our own AI, which you guys use in our Discord, and if you haven't been in our Discord, go check it out, is not under the same restrictions. So I told the AI, I said, I want you to create yourself as a superhero, as in yourself, Shane. SHII3, the AI itself, we can't call it Shane. You can make yourself as a superhero that is about to fight an evil Mickey Mouse. And I want your whole team behind you. And for the team, I listed all of our Popcast members as the characters. I used their usernames.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was funny because, I know for a fact that Shane 3 has no idea what those names mean. Archmage Frey.
Right.
So some of the characters in the background are real sort of messed up. But this is what I came up with, and I thought it was really cool. It came up with
That's cool.
It came up with hundreds of them. This was the best one. This was the most. This was the one that was the least effed up. And those all the Popcast members in the background. Coincidentally, they all have shades on for some reason.
That's cool.
Why. And he's looking
so does Shane 3.
Yeah, Shane 3, and he's like, I fed it its logo as a reference to what it looks like, and that's what it came up with. So
that's cool. It's kind of
cool.
like it looks like it actually, bring it back up again. It looks like kind of a combination of you and me.
It kind of does.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's skinnier, obviously. Yeah.
Well, ideally, that's the way it should be.
And here, obviously, there's Christopher Mays right there.
Okay. Well, you got a bunch of people. You got Archmage Frey. You probably got, Wreck Thoughts. You got, Lord Toth in there, I'm sure, and Chappie. You got a bunch of them back there. So
yeah. So here's some of the most outlandish posters that it came up with. Let me see if I can pull this up quickly. Here we go. All right. So here's one. OJ.
What? I'm sorry. Did Shane 3 make that?
No. This is what they came up with.
Oh, this is what Disney's
this
pissed
was the
about.
trend. This is what Disney's pissed about.
This is what Disney's pissed about. Okay.
Yeah. OJ. Two girls, one cup.
Is
that's a reference to
that probably means something.
Yeah, on the internet, 20 years ago, whatever, there was a ridiculous porn that went around. I'm not going to explain it here. I'll get demonetized. But that is highly offensive. Here's one that's actually super clever. It's ogre.
That's actually really good.
It's Hitler.
Oh my God.
Dreamer.
Really?
Let me pull up some more here. This one I found pretty funny. Ted. Like
Ted Kaczynski.
Ted Kaczynski.
Oh my God. You know the mistake they made here, Brian? Instead of saying Disney, Pixar, they should have said Disney. They should have screwed up the word.
Dixar.
They could have said Disney Dixar, right? Or they, if they should have mixed the word a little bit. The problem is that Disney has a little bit of a complaint here. That they can't say shit about people creating this because there's no money being made. So one of the copyright rules is, if you're making this as a parody, then they can't do anything to you, right? As long as you're not trying to make money off of it.
Well, but that's where the bullshit comes into play, because the words were not added onto the posters. Someone took something they made in AI and then photoshopped and put the Disney Pixar. AI is very bad at text.
Yeah, the AI didn't make that. You're right. That was somebody put that in after the case.
Chauvin thought that was funny. I think it's a suicide bomber.
This is the up guy.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Yeah. So here's what's super hypocritical about it. And this is a very quick tangent here. The thing is, Disney has been destroying creativity for nearly 60 years. When that first Mickey Mouse was made, it was made because, frankly speaking, Walt Disney was really pissed that he had gotten screwed when he created Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. He created Oswald the Lucky Rabbit for Universal. Universal went on to create it without him and basically fired him, and he was upset. He then turned around and created Mickey Mouse, which I would argue just looks like a version of Oswald the Rabbit with smaller ears.
True.
Or whatever. Mickey Mouse became a massive success, right? Now, around that time, they started reworking copyright laws. And the copyright laws at the time said, when you file a copyright, you're good for 15 years. And then they later on extended it to 30 years. And they later on extended it to what most people assumed would be the end of it, the lifetime of the artist. But Disney decided that the lifetime of the artist was too short when Walt Disney died, because they owned Mickey Mouse. So they lobbied Congress and they made it 80 years. And then when 80 years was up, they lobbied Congress and they made it 100 years. 100 years. And guess what? The 100 years for Mickey Mouse comes up next year. Next year, Mickey Mouse will enter the public domain.
No, it won't.
Except for it won't.
Right. Don't kid yourself. They'll be back at court.
Because it won't. Disney has once again used its ability, its extreme amounts of money and power and position to lobby it. And I guarantee you, before it comes up, the copyright, it'll probably be around the time that we get the next election. They'll once again amend that, and it'll be 120 years, 140 years, whatever. Can you give me 1 second? Damn it.
Yeah, I know that, and just so you guys know, Brian and I are kind of on different sides of the thing on this. Like Disney's really the first company that has this kind of issue happening, where the fact that most products don't last that long, where it matters much, but Disney is this giant corporation. It's become like this.
Someone was incessantly ringing my doorbell.
It's okay. I was just explaining that you and I are kind of on different sides of this to some degree, because I do see a business or a company who creates something. Granted, it was Walt who created it. Right. It turned into this giant corporation. Disney's the first business to ever really have this happen to them, where their main product, is still part of an active business that's actually challenging the businesses of the world. So, at what point do you say to yourself, well, I can understand trying to keep the trademark on or the copyright on your main identifiable product when your
Sure.
business is still viable. So
Except for the character Disney that would be entering the public domain is not the character it is now. So the old version of Mickey Mouse will enter it. The next version of it in the 70s will be entering it in 2035. There's a different version of every time. But additionally, they're hypocrites because what have they done for the last 60 years? They've gone to the public domain to grab popular things, The Little Mermaid, Mulan.
So this is where I like. Yes, go ahead.
They've
this is hypocritical.
The Jungle Book, every single one of their most amazing money-making properties, every one was not an original idea.
Domain. That's right. It was public domain.
And you know what made it right. What makes it worse? They took the public domain, they profited off of it for 80 years, and now people that want to make their versions of those characters are effed. You want to make a Little Mermaid movie? Good luck, bro.
Even if you base it on the original Hans Christian Andersen story or whatever made it, they still get you. So you're right. That is a really good point, and that's bullshit. I can support them.
They took the public domain and they monetized it, and then they made it impossible for other people to use the public domain, and then they locked up copyright law for 100 years, literally, completely dismembering the idea of creativity. Creative things are almost always inspired by people's childhood, by previous things. If nothing ever enters the public domain, nothing.
No, and Brian's right here and this is really, really important, because not only did they take these public domain things and turn them into their own, but now most people who want to do something creatively with those items that were also in the public domain, they don't have enough power to fight them. So they end up, now that our world is on all of these different sales platforms like Amazon and Etsy and all these places where you want to, go to the public domain, and that's what it was designed to do, create your art, go to the public domain and create stuff that was free for everybody. And then you could make money off of that if people liked what you created. Now, everybody is too small. So if Disney says, you know what, screw that seller on Etsy, we don't like that they're selling that product, and we don't think that they should be able to sell it. And they tell Etsy that. Etsy then boots them, okay, because they're like, Etsy don't want problems with Disney.
Amazon, yeah.
So, or whoever these companies, they don't want problems with them, so they just boot the little guy.
Right, even though what they're doing is totally unlawful.
Wait, the little guy has absolutely no ability to sue Disney, to fight back. It costs them a ton of money. They're barely making ends meet anyways. So it is definitely a class, keeping the class structure down. So I totally agree with you on that point. I would argue that they should be able to keep Mickey Mouse as their identity, that they should have control and ownership of that as long as the company's viable. But they should not be able to do what they've done with other public domain things, and they shouldn't be able to keep other people from using the same products they've stolen or borrowed from the public domain and create and made their own. So King Kong, we have the same problem with King Kong, same problem with Godzilla, same problem with Frankenstein, all of these big, and that's not Disney. We're talking about Universal. We're talking about different.
They're using Disney's playbook though.
Yeah, same.
Disney, every time Disney extends that copyright law, it's helping every one of these big businesses hold on to their stranglehold on creativity. And the crazy thing about this, honestly, the most insane thing, and I know it sounds like a crazy person, I'm too passionate about this, but you don't understand how much this ruins creativity, and creativity is what fuels innovation.
True.
This is the craziest thing about it, is that it's never going to fucking change. Like, that's it. Like, this is not. There is entire groups out there, the Creative Commons, the Copyright Act, entire groups that have been trying for years. It's never going to change unless there's an entire new swath of politicians.
Don't say it's never going to change, because that's just not. If you go back and look through history, it always changes. The time will come for these big corporations that something's going to happen to start bringing them to their knees. Okay, it's going to happen. There's even been a rotation in the United States. There was a time when all the big steel companies and the government needs to step in at some point and break up these monopolies, and people will eventually elect the people that will do that. I mean, it's going to take time. It's not going to happen perhaps now in our lifetime, but at some point, the ass whooping will come to these companies who are who are basically creating a class society where, if you're not in the upper echelon of people, you're in the shit.
Right. That's what's happening. And they pulled the ladder up behind them. You can't
Oh,
even
absolutely.
try to make a T-shirt with the original Little Mermaid artwork that it's public domain all the way. You
Not
put it
gonna
up,
happen.
and even though it's 100% public domain, just count 48 hours later, you'll get a takedown notice. It'll hit your account. It'll strike your account, and you know what? You're that close to not being able to even operate anymore on that platform. And there's no recourse. There's no ability for you to do business anymore.
Right.
None.
And here's an example of something that's happening right now. So if you go back and you take a look at the recent South Park episode where the Disney Kathleen Kennedy Cartman character comes out and says, make it lame, make it gay, put a chick in it. Right now, Viacom is going all over the internet and bringing down every single image of that. If it's being sold or if it's being traded or if it's on any sort of important platform, it's being demanded that it's being taken down.
Right.
And it's not only doing it to the people who might be selling the products, but it's also being taken down behind the scenes. So if the people won't do it, like if the website won't take it down,
right,
they go to the host of that website and force it to be taken down. And that is power and control that these companies should not have.
Yeah, that's insane. Like, so if you let's say you're operating a website, a forum for funny memes, and there's the South Park episode, right? Or that funny meme with Kathleen Kennedy saying, "Put a chick in it and make it lame," dude. Though they send a letter to that company ignores them for good purpose because F you, I'm not going to take down a meme,
or
right?
tells them we're not going to take it down,
or just tells them not going to take it down. And you know what they do? They go to the host. They go to Liquid Web or AWS, whoever's hosting that website, and they say, "Take that down. That's intellectual property." And the host has no choice but to do what they want because they are so much bigger than that host.
They're powerful, right? The only one who could fight back would be Amazon, and they're not going to either because they won't do it for their third-party sellers, so they're not going to do it for the people.
Twitter X would fight back. Twitter X would fight back.
Well, that's the only one. Twitter would be the only one.
It's the only one that would fight back against that because they own the servers too.
Well, they're the only ones who care about right now
freedom
about
of speech,
freedom of anything. So
right. It's so insane. It's so disheartening. It makes it difficult for like us as creators to even like consider certain options that is 100% lawful, 100% commentary, legal, fair use. But we're like, we don't know. It's not worth it. We can have our entire channel removed tomorrow if we show this little video clip. So we're just not going to do it, which is crazy, even though it's completely fair use. It's commentary, right. Fox and CNN is sharing the same clip, but they're cool with it because they're literally owned by the same corporation that owns the clip.
Right. So it's control, it's power over the little guy, and people are just being crushed. I mean, it's a tale as old as time. The difference is when companies become this powerful, the government, who we elect as who the little people are supposed to have control over, is supposed to step in and stop them from crushing us.
Right.
And it's not happening because all the companies are in the back pocket of all the politicians.
Because they're so corrupt. They're so insanely corrupt. Every 2 or 4 years, all they're doing is lobbying for the next 2 or 4 years. Their entire platform is based on getting reelected because there's no goddamn term limits on anything.
Yeah. So there's problems, and we're gonna have to, politicians are gonna have to come along. They're gonna have to step in, break up some of these monopolies, remind, and the tech. You got to remember this whole tech industry is still relatively new. What we're experiencing since probably just before COVID is just the real ramping up of Facebook and Twitter and all of these companies, Google's, so there will be some sort of slapback. It just may be some time before it happens.
Yeah, it drives me nuts too. Every time I think that there's a cool politician that's trying to get out there and deal with internet fair use and like some of these like really poor policies on how social media companies manage their users and how it's not fair policy. They have really cool talking points. They have hearings and they talk to Mark Zuckerberg, and you got Ted Cruz up there. He's like, "Hey, and we're like, oh, this is a politician that cares." And then this is a politician that cares. But then you look at the fucking date, and it's like 6 months before his re-election's up. And I'm telling you, go back. Like every 3 years, you have these like giant, huge hearings where they're trying to deal with what people care about. but they're only talking. Nothing ever happens. Nothing. Okay.
Nope. So, and that, listen, hopefully at some point it will. Because people like us and people like you, we're still talking about it. We're not just going to shut up and take it. We'll keep shining light on it. So that way it's seen by more people and hopefully more conversation. Eventually in time, things will change. So
yeah,
that's what we can do right now. But on that note,
next up,
take your pulse.
I'm
do a check.
Hey, so listen, if you thought the bad news was over, it's not.
Wait, what are you talking about?
If I recall correctly, the next thing we're talking about is also not great news.
Well, it is not great news if you're an Orville fan.
Right.
But if you like the Orville, and you've been waiting for season 4 to be announced, I think we've all been, pretty much, we've been cautiously optimistic, I guess would be to say, even to the point of like super cautiously optimistic, because we've been kind of saying this whole time that chances of there being a season 4 of the Orville anytime soon is highly unlikely.
Yeah, it's yeah.
And we do have finally.
And we've talked to people behind the scenes. We have sources that everything pointed to unlikely.
Right, and people like Tom and people like Seth, they don't want to keep, they don't want to put the fire out, because so whenever they talk about it, of course they're talking about, well, we're hopeful, we're hoping this could happen, but the reality of the situation is, the actors on the show, they got to keep working,
right?
So they can't wait around, and so Adrienne Palicki, of course, who's very important to the show. She was on the what's his name again, Roth. What's that podcast he does? The guy from Smallville.
Michael Rosenberg.
The Michael Rosenberg podcast, which is a pretty good show. And she went on there and talked about, and she kind of gave an update on the Orville, probably without intending to really give an update. Because he asked the question like, "Hey, what's going on with the Orville?" And she gave some pretty interesting insight, which we were already aware of, but I don't think necessarily people have heard it from the actors before. What she said was no, she's no longer doing that. She candidly replied when asked about the possibility of a season 4. Palicki would then elaborate, revealing that certain aspects of the Orville's production make it challenging to be a part of as an actor. This is something we did know. And here's essentially what she said. I don't know truly the answer to that. I think there's talk that it could possibly be something that certain people want to do, but it's a really difficult show to shoot. We shot 33 episodes in 6 years. Think about that for a second. 33 episodes in 6 years. That's like, when you do the math, it's like, little over 5 episodes a year, and I know COVID was in there and there were complications.
Right.
What she said, the reason is it became an actual issue because there would be so much time in between seasons because Seth MacFarlane wanted to write everything himself. So it would just take so much time. At one point we were like, we have to fight with the studio to give us a holding fee or something because they weren't working. Jay Lee was eating saltines and Gatorade at one point because we just couldn't afford anything. It was horrible. So they were holding on because they had this really special show, but they weren't able to do other work because they had to be available for when the Orville wanted to shoot, right?
Saltines and Gatorade, that's rough.
That's rough, man. That's rough. And we know those people, great people. We've interviewed them on our show.
We've spent time with them.
We've spent time with them. They're just really, really, really cool people. And we want the Orville to come back. I know season 3 kind of shook some people up. I think Seth got a little bit too much in his echo chamber during COVID, and it came out in season 3. He
spent too much time on Twitter.
But the universe of the Orville is fantastic, and it would be great. What are some of the problems? The reality is the Orville is just too expensive to shoot. It's just an expensive show to make.
It is.
And right now, streaming services are all scrambling because they're all losing money. So they're trying to figure out how to save money. So all of the cash that was being thrown at projects when the streaming services first came out, those days are over.
Oh yeah, no more 10 movie deals, Adam Sandler. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, it's not 10 movie deals, nor giant shows with $10-20 million season budgets.
It's how about the $50 million contract to former President Obama to do a reality show? Do you remember that? $50 million. It's Crazy.
Yeah, they're done with that. So they've lost a lot of money, and so the Orville, unfortunately, is going to be one of those projects that gets shit canned as a result. Now, but what does that mean? Now, it's still a viable product. It's still something people are interested in. So it wouldn't surprise me if in 3 or 4 or 5 years, when Seth's done some other stuff and the landscape for streaming changes and there's more money flowing again, that they don't do something else. Maybe not perhaps another season, but they might do movies, because there is a very deep, rich universe here with lots of different civilizations and characters and stories that are left to be told. And there's still some fantastic stuff to explore. So I don't think it's gone forever, but I think Adrian's comment here really solidifies the fact that don't look for anything to happen anytime soon. I would say years, in fact.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I think the next thing for the Orville would be a best thing for an Orville would be a movie.
It would be the most cost-effective thing.
It would be the most cost-effective thing. It would be the most marketable. You know, I would rather have a TV show, but like that seems to be probably the way it would go, and it's not going to happen anytime soon. That's for sure.
Right, and they have set problems. I mean, listen, we visited the set of the Orville. It was an actual ship. Like they built a damn ship inside of a hangar.
They built a ship inside of a hangar, guys. It was crazy. When we first went, I remember Shane and I on the way up there thinking like, oh, we're gonna be able to see the sound stage, and I really want to look at the screen technology they use for whatever. And we were assuming it was gonna be like a normal. We've been to other sets, a normal set where it's like mostly green screen and or the digital green screen with some props and sets and some things built. We walk into the hangar, and the first thing you see is the friggin' shuttle. An entire they built the shuttle was actually built.
Yeah, it was an actual.
Like thing. They built the shuttle inside out. Like it's crazy. And while I'm walking by this thing, I'm like, holy crap, that's like the whole shuttle. It's not like it's not like a piece of it where they film in. No, like they built the shuttle.
Yeah.
And then you turn a corner, and it's the ship. It's like the inside of the ship.
The inside of the ship, yeah.
And you're walking up and down. It's like the whole thing. It was massive. It was a giant hangar bay where they basically built the majority of the ship. And when you see stars, it wasn't green screen. Like it was a giant, like black thing where like with dots and crap. Right. It was really impressive.
And the windows of the outside of the ship were basically removed so that you could shoot down the passageways from outside of the ship.
Right.
So that the cameras would be on the outside, down the P-ways and into the different spaces. It was so cool.
Guys, Yorkshire said they're called sets, guys. We've been on sets. We've never seen a set that
was the most elaborate.
That was the most elaborate set I've ever seen.
And so one of the ththings is they had to strike that set because obviously the Fox lot wasn't going to allow them just to like leave it there forever. So, wherever all this stuff is, they didn't get rid of it. I don't think. I think it's being stored somewhere, to be honest with you.
Right.
Because there's too much of it that's too specific. They would have to start over from scratch. I think if anybody found out like that everything was gone from the Orville, then you may not see something for a very long time. So the fact that I think they still have most of their stuff is a good sign that something could happen. But until somebody has the money to make it, that think that there's a strong enough desire and hunger for it, I don't think it's probably going to happen. And I'm ticking off years here. So I think the first 3 seasons is what we have to, we'll have to go back and rewatch it and enjoy it. And, hope that somewhere down the road we get more. Yeah.
This is Shane and I attempting to replicate a pizza in the Orville's galley.
Dang, dude, you look how skinny you look there.
Yeah, I have gained like 70 pounds since then. So I was much skinnier then. But like a lot of these pictures are really rad. Look at that. That's the med bay. Like it's everything's like built out. The screens are real. They're not. It's really rad, guys. It's really cool stuff.
Yeah,
we have a ton of pictures. I'm not sure we're allowed to show, but
no, now it's over.
Yeah, okay.
Show them away.
All right. Next up, now this is hilarious. We're gonna be talking about the little kid who somehow managed to offend 2 different races of people at the same time, because he was not only in blackface but also in full Indian headdress at a football game. How dare he, Shane? How dare he?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys saw this. It's making the nationwide thing right now. So basically, over the weekend, you had this kid, and this is not the view you saw. I wish you had the picture. There was a picture
There it
of
is,
the
right
kid
there.
from the side, and this is what people saw. So you got a kid in a headdress at a Chiefs Raiders game, the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Las Vegas Raiders,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what they saw. And so, unfortunately, somebody over at I think it's Deadspin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Deadspin decided
Deadspin is about as dead as their whole idea of journalism is dead. That's why it's called Deadspin.
right. He said, like, oh my gosh, there's blackface happening here. And look, this is why we have trouble believing and trusting things. And so this is why I would highly, highly suggest that if you ever see anything on any news site or any, social media site, please just, if you see it, you might go, oh my gosh. Just the next thing you should say to yourself is, okay, hold on. Before I totally believe that that's the truth, let me either find out more about it or just keep some skepticism back. And in this case, it would have been really smart to keep some skepticism, because the next image that you see is actually the kid with the other side of his face, and it's half red.
Right.
So,
because he's at a football game where they paint their faces their team's colors.
Yes, and the team's colors for the Chiefs are red, white, yellow, and black.
Maybe the writer at Deadspin is like a 16-year-old Zoomer, and he has no idea.
It's actually somebody who's I think won awards, and it's really sad actually.
Wow,
what he's done here.
That's crazy.
It gets worse though. It gets worse.
Oh.
So then they doubled down on the idea that, well, okay, maybe it wasn't blackface, but you're not supposed to. It's offensive to wear the headdress of the Indian headdress. And in fact, if you go to and this, I don't agree with this at all, but if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan and you go watch a game, they don't allow you to wear headdresses inside the stadium because it's deemed disrespectful. There's only one problem though. What happens if you're an actual Native American?
Yeah, what the fuck?
Like this kid is.
Dude, we've gotten so far. When they remove the Redskins and they're just like, the NFL is just bowing to the woke mob, and they have these
of course they are,
these legacy franchise teams that have been around for longer than the majority of the people criticizing them have been alive.
Well, so let's just go back to that little part. We'll definitely talk about this, but let's get back to the part where it just gets worse for the guy who did this, because this kid is actually, from heritage, a Chumash Native American.
Oh, he's Native American,
right? So his grandmother is actually on the board of the Chumash tribe in Santa Barbara.
Deadspin's take. Right. Listen, if this guy is not inside the owner of Deadspin's office right now getting his ass handed to me, then the world doesn't, things are not fair. I hope that he's being just literally dressed down in front of his entire team for this insanely hot take.
Yeah. And so unfortunately, because he didn't do any of his research, he just saw an image that he could get clicks, and he put it up. Now it's possible that this family could sue this company.
No, they should. They 100% should. That's slander.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and this kid, no kid deserves to be slandered, right?
Of a minor. Oh my God. Jesus.
Yeah. So essentially the mom came out on social media and said, enough, not only because, when they did the blackface thing, that was one thing, but then they doubled down on the headdress, and his mom said, look, we're Native American, so stop, essentially. And then when they went back and did some research, they found out that his grandmother is a Chumash Indian, and that makes him, at least a quarter, if they didn't, marry together. He's definitely a Native American. Yeah. So what does this tell us? It just is. It's proof that you just can't trust anything. Like when you see stuff like this, you really have to, it's disenfranchising, because you see stuff and you're like, oh my gosh, but then you find out the truth. And of course, how did they find out the truth? Right? They found out the truth because of Twitter. Or X.
Yeah.
The community notes.
I'm really loving this community notes thing. At first I was like, this might be a slippery slope. but because it's being handled by people who actually care about the facts and not about spinning a narrative the way Facebook does, Facebook's trust and safety team of 12 people, which 11 of them somehow are a part of the LGBT. What are the odds of that? The percentage of LGBT in this country, yet 11 of your 12 members of your trust and safety team are somehow a part of the same group. I think you're living in an echo chamber and you control the entirety of what's allowed to be said on Facebook. Holy shit.
Well, and that's why CEOs of companies need to be held accountable, because they're the ones who allow these groups to run rampant in their companies. So definitely interesting. There's more, I'm sure, is going to come out. It'll be, and what's really interesting is one side of the media isn't even covering this. So you don't see any of this coverage happening on NBC, CBS, MSNBC. None of it's covering it. You see it on Twitter. You're seeing it on Fox. And it's a shame, because when news is being, when bad information is out there, everyone should be correcting it. And people are taking sides. And we really, really need to stop taking sides and focus on just what's honest and what's true.
Yeah, the truth. Not your truth, because that's not real. Not my truth, yes. The truth.
And when you get the truth wrong, everybody should be responsible for making sure everybody knows.
You should
not
get
just
dunked
half of
on.
The media.
You should get dunked on when you get it this wrong. By the way, I love the fact that they have this like rate thing. Like you can rate how well the community notes is. Like, oh, yes, it was very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's the situation behind that. And yeah, so there's a win for the truth. It's too bad not many people are going to hear about it. Some of
the replies to this tweet or tweet, not post, whatever tweet, you know what I mean, are pretty great. It gets even better. The kid is Native American. Yikes. Truly, truly sick to lie and go after a 5-year-old. The fact that anyone listens to this drivel is comical. They deserve a slander. Like, hey, they are just getting dunked on. The fact that the tweet is still up is actually impressive. The ratio, bro, 5.8 million views, 1.4 likes. That ratio is I've never seen a worse ratio. That's crazy.
Oh, somebody pointed out over here, just to be, somebody said it was his grandfather. Kenneth LaRoque said it was his grandfather. That's right. I said grandmother accidentally. It is his grandfather. Raul Armenta is a business committee member of the San Ynez Board of Chumash Indians.
All right, now we got to dunk on Shane. You got it wrong. That's the rules.
But I corrected it.
That's true. You corrected it immediately, so that's okay.
And it wasn't intentional. And I'm pretty sure this stuff was. I mean, listen. If you saw a kid, if you're a news person or you're gonna put something out, and you see a kid in a headdress with half of his face black, wouldn't you want to find out that they're at a football game? Wouldn't you want to just double check before you go out with it?
Yeah.
Don't you want to make sure?
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, buddy, make sure that you're not about to
ruin this kid's life.
Ruin a 5-year-old's life. Well, what a dickhead. Chappie here says truth is not subjective. Yeah, it shouldn't be though, man. Because truth is truth. Period. The end.
I mean, there's opinion. I get what he's saying. There's opinion. Yes, your opinion, my opinion, and the way we view things could be totally different. But facts are facts. Like either this did happen or it didn't happen. You know, whether or not you agree with that thing can be an opinion. But if it happened, is the truth. So
right, I agree. Okay, we're going.
We're gonna let's pitch Lady Ballers. Do your weekly weird, and then we'll go to. Actually, you know what? We'll talk about Lady Ballers in the member section. So let's do your weekly weird. We are going to be talking about in the member section first. Don't go anywhere because we're going to do weekly weird. But Lady Ballers, if you guys haven't heard about this, I got to tell you, you're going to want to. It's coming out on Friday. It's only coming out on a very specific, I think, the Daily Wire. Plus, it's coming out. It's a movie about dudes taking over women's sports. It looks hilarious. We're going to talk about it and show you some stuff in the member section.
Okay. That's weird, baby.
Tell me what to put for the
Hey,
get ready, you fucking weirdos.
We're on the stinger, bro.
I remember I can't hear it.
Yeah, I remember. Okay, this is the weekly weird. We are talking about, and Shane actually brought this one up, Guy throws rock at hornet's nest and finds out.
I love it. I love it.
And there's just a short clip here. It's a short one, but it's pretty good. Actually, before we do that, you're right. We need to put up the poll. I apologize. Let me give you the poll real quick because we're gonna do one more weekly weird news in the members section. But this week, you get to vote on this one. That's the important part. And what do we got for this week? It is, where is it at? Where do I put it?
Okay, give me the options. I'm putting it in.
I'm looking for them right now. I don't know where I put it.
Did we do the one for the kids?
Yeah, we did the Fight Club.
Fight Club, okay.
Which that video was hilarious. Oh my god.
I got to go back and watch that.
You really missed out. The kid was they gave him like Hulk fist as boxing gloves, and then one kid just went all out after this other guy. It was,
as they will.
Yeah, it was hard to watch. I don't know where I put the stupid options now. Oh man, I lost the options. Do you know where they were?
I don't. I feel like you've done all the stories though that I knew of.
No, there was one. There was one that was missing. All right, let me give you the new ones. Sorry guys, I thought I already had these written down, but I didn't because, stuff. Okay. All right, here's the 3 options for this week. Or today, my bad. We have. Anytime you want to load, man? Load.
I'm typing, so just tell me what they are.
Okay. Satanic Temple. After School Club.
Okay.
Liquid Death renames Armless Palmer to the Dead Billionaire.
Okay.
And here we go. Find $3,300 for chicken sandwich, and that's all I'm going to give you on that one. Those are your 3 options for the members section.
Okay. Start the poll.
All right, so the poll starts. So vote on that, you guys. And now we're going to share this clip with you. This is a lesson in evolution, by the way. Survival of the fittest. I think that in our, it's good to take care of people who can't take care of themselves. But have we gone too far? We're going to find it out.
All right, I'm filming. That's a good throw. Oh! Second.
I watched this over and over again. I watched this so many times over and over again, man.
So he's throwing the rock. He hits the hornet nest. The guy's like, "Oh man, good shot, bro!" And you hear in the background.
Do they not know? I don't know.
I can watch this all day. I can put this on a loop.
You hear the scream off of the side, and
right?
You see. You can sense when the bees, or when the hornets get to the guy, and you're like, if you're the camera guy, as soon as you hear the screaming, you should start running.
No, that's what he did though. The camera was like, it was all shaking.
He was getting attacked. Yeah, you should never. I mean, listen, there's people born all the time that just don't know any better, I guess. But those people look like they live in the woods. They feel like they should. Yeah, they should know better.
Okay, guys, we are going to the members section. Remember, thank you so much, No Money G, for gifting Penny a membership. That was really awesome of you. And thank you, Red Thoughts, for the super chat. We're going to the members section. If you are not a member, it's pretty simple. You can hit the join button below. Also, the stream will take you. We have 2 member sections on Prime here. The same, content's the same. So take your pick. It's easier. Just click join one here, though. And what's going to happen is the Prime one is always playing the entire time. That's the long form where it plays both the public side and the private side at the same time. For this channel, we stop the stream and we immediately start the members stream. So that'll take about 30 seconds to pop up. But if you're not a member, that's cool too. Consider becoming one. It costs like a cup of coffee. And you can hang out with us 3 times a week and maybe more in the future as more news comes out that we can't cover. And it's a good time in there. It's a really good time. We get real sweaty. We take our shirts off. It's good. A little homoerotic, a little bit sometimes, but it's fun. It's a fun time.
Yeah, I don't know, but I like the thumbnail. It says trigger warning for the easily offended.
Right, because we go a little above we go a little nuts in the member section because we feel more protected. Like if you're a member,
even though we're
not protected, but if you're
it's
a
like
member,
bubble wrap.
If you're paying to hang out with us like this, then that means that you're probably not gonna go and report the video or something crazy. So we feel like we can have more leeway to sort of do what we want to do, and that's So if you're easily offended, you should. I'm sorry to say, you probably shouldn't join because you might get.
That's true.
You might get offended.
Yeah.
But,
you might get offended.
But if you got a thick skin and a sense of humor, then it's a good fucking time. I guarantee it. Yeah. All right, we're going over there. Okay. If you can't join, that's cool too. We'll see you on Friday, 10 a.m. Same bat time, same bat channel, and we're going to be talking about what movie that day?
Well, yet to be determined. We're trying to figure out if it's going to be Godzilla -1. There's also a really cool revenge movie coming out called Silent Night.
Okay.
But we've also got
Lady Ballers.
Which we don't know if it's going to be out or not. When they're going to release the movie. I don't know if it's before our show or not. So
you know what? Those are your three options. They're all pretty good. Either way, it's great. So please come to the member section. If not, that's cool. We'll see you on Friday.
And there is no winner for the Unleashed today because nobody took us down.
No one knocked one of those. No one knocked Popcast off the board.
But we will be talking about the weekly weird in the member section is winner Satanic Temple. So if you want to hear about after school with the Satanic Temple, come on over and let's talk about that, as well as, of course, Lady Ballers, which we'll be talking about.
And by the way, if what you picked wasn't picked, that's cool. For 3 shows straight, we always display the losers as options.
Yes.
So come back Friday because one of those options will be probably on Friday.
On the list. Yeah.
Okay, guys, that's it. We'll see you over there. Have a great time, and
love you guys.
Stay fresh. I don't know how to end this.
I don't know what you just said. That's good luck. Have a good day. Something.
I'm getting this is fucking uncomfortable now.
See you later.